Oh, boy. Oh, it barfed.
Oh, no.
Excuse me.
Where's yours? That's delicious. I don't have one. I've got to wait for Neil to do his...
I have to wait for Neil to do his bit. BT Dubs, Allison and I are sharing a mic today, so I'm going to be off mic and wait for the end. It's going to be great. It's going to be like when somebody pulls somebody up for an impromptu duet at a concert, and it's really awkward and weird. Although that's a real problem with the new movie version of A Star is Born, because they just have that mic ready and they cannot have possibly known that she was going to go on stage. I mean, I guess he knew and it's his show, but she really looked like she wasn't going to. You know what I mean? She was like really far from the shallow right then, and it was just nailed it. All right, sorry. Go ahead. Do your bit.
Is that...
Yeah, we got to do it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, I mean, it's Dudelander, so we have to start
We have to do
the
it
right way.
God, boy.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't remember the words, so can you...
Okay, we'll just see what we can do here.
Yeah, go for it.
Other way. Bottom. It's the bottom.
I'm glad it's raining.
Kevin?
There's always something to
This makes me so happy, Neil.
Okay.
Just so you know, you've got 30 seconds before we could be sued.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You gonna sing along?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I thought we agreed no singing along. To just let
I thought maybe
the
on
dulcet
the
tones
night.
of Jim Varney.
Oh my God! Was the movie Ernest Goes Camping?
Ernest Goes to Camp.
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't.
Show it to the people.
I don't get it.
So every year, since last year, Neil and I have decided to watch a companion film to help us enjoy Outlander, whatever that season is. And this year, after...
So last year...
Oh, last year we watched...
because they had the whole hunt for the jewels in the chest, we decided to watch the appropriate piece, City Slickers 2.
The Legend of Curly's Gold.
Right, which worked out great for us.
Treasure chest.
This year, in honor of Claire and Jamie's journey into the wild,
Camping.
we decided to watch the 1987 Jim Varney classic, Ernest Goes to Camp.
And he sings a very sad song that he's glad it's raining.
Gee, I'm glad it's raining.
Please look it up. It is
What
the
did
best
they
song.
want, Kevin?
All they wanted was a hero.
And what did he need?
All he needed was a friend.
Yeah.
I'm awfully glad it's raining.
Did you know the Temptation song, I Wish It Was Rain, was written by a man who was very sad about his wife leaving him, and he wrote the song, and he turned it in, and then he killed himself?
Is that the...
Woof.
see, I wish it would rain.
Yeah.
That song. That's a good song.
So take a seat, Jim Varney.
He can't. He's dead.
Shine blue
He's also
skies.
dead. Speaking of death, Jim
Also
Varney.
dead.
Oh, welcome to Podlander Drugcast and Outlander Podcast. I'm Allison. I'm Julie. Janine's not here, but we have these two schmoes.
That's Kevin.
And over there is Neil.
Oh, God, that's cute. Should we do that?
No!
That's Julie. I need some beer, please.
So in honor of Dudelander, and because Kevin was going to be in my home, I got a couple different beers for everybody to share. First, I got Allagash beer, White Rascal.
Is that because of my pale complexion?
And then I got Hopewell Brewing, Little Buddy.
Oh my gosh, what a haul, Neil. As per tradition, I would bring a 40 for us, but in recent years it's become harder and harder to find 40s of Old English. So I extended my search this year to Indiana, and unfortunately I could not find a 40 of Old English. I could find a 42 of Old English.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
Ooh, look at it.
That's 84 ounces of OE right there. I want you to know that there's some beer technology in there. It says cold when blue, and it's like whitish. I mean, it's bluish, but it's whitish.
Can I try to do this?
Yeah, you can do, just be careful.
Oh yeah,
around
definitely
the line.
shook it up, yeah.
Sounds delicious.
It's going to be
I'm
so
gonna take one of
sweet.
these little buddies.
Oh, God. I want a little buddy.
There you go.
Man, tastes like
I want
underage
you
drinking to me.
guys To get it. Let's look at this. This is a normal beer.
My buddy,
And here's the little buddy.
my buddy and me.
A White Rascal and a Little Buddy.
Okay, so we all know that Kevin is the little buddy. So, are you the white rascal, or is man conquering lands that don't belong to them in North America? Are they the white rascals?
You know, we'll let the internet decide.
There's one person watching right now.
Is it us?
No.
Look at little buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's so small.
I'm gonna
As
double
opposed
fist
to
it.
this guy.
Opposed to this manly 42-ouncer.
Cheers.
Well, this is sort of what it looks like when I'm trying to think of a very tall character and a very short character. When Jamie stands next to,
Young Fergus?
I guess so. I was trying to come up with something funnier.
What, his kid?
Well, the only thing I could think of was Dr. Ruth Westheimer. But
That's funny.
you know what? Hey, Daphne, free idea. Hulu's trying to promote that Dr. Ruth documentary right now. You could do some really great viral marketing. Have Dr. Ruth interview Sam Huon about sex scenes on television.
I think that's a great idea. Am I the only one, Neil actually mentioned this last week, am I the only one that's kind of weirdly surprised that Dr. Ruth is still alive?
No, I'm 100% surprised.
Okay.
She's doing well. She was at TCA's.
That's awesome.
I didn't get to see her, but apparently she was very spry.
Good for her.
Yeah, I was busy doing something else.
Something or
Elevator?
someone.
No. However, I've found my limit. My reach as a journalist extends exactly this far and no farther. I am incapable of speaking out loud in front of David Tennant. Yeah, couldn't do it. He was in 2 separate panels, and one of them was a live stream, which he did last time too. And that, whatever, I was like, well, it's a live stream. What am I going to do? There can't be any spark. He can't see me. This time, however, I could not do it.
Been there.
Yeah. He
Happens to all of us.
He wore like a kind of greenish and purplish checked suit that was very stylish and purple socks. And he was rocking a really nice beard. Like this riffraff, nothing.
Excuse you.
Also,
Our
Michael
beers
Sheen
are
was on
amazing.
that panel, and he has sheer animal magnetism. I get it now. I get how Michael Sheen has managed to romance so many accomplished and beautiful women. Because it's not like he's a bad-looking dude, but you don't see Michael Sheen and think like, yeah, I'd hit that. But I mean, you might, but
Wait,
it's not
who?
like Michael Sheen.
Oh.
You know, Charlie's dead.
Nope.
No.
No,
I thought you were talking about Michael Shannon for a second. That didn't sound
I'm
right.
trying
Also
to think of
magnetism.
the easiest frame of I mean, he did Masters of Sex, but I don't think
Tony
you watched
Blair
that.
in every movie that had Tony Blair in it in the early 2000s.
Except for Love Actually, because the stand-in for Tony Blair is Hugh Grant. Anyway, no, there's let's see.
Still not
you know
there.
what? He plays Wesley Snipes on 30 Rock. Does that help?
He's about to be in Good Omens with David Tennant.
Yeah, that's what the panel was. It was
He was in Frost Nixon.
Dude, fucking Google him. Neil, your phone is right in
Did
fucking
he play
front
Tony
of you.
Blair in that? No, I mean I've seen a bunch of stuff. The Special Relationship HBO miniseries from the early 2000s. Was that him? You get no.
Just
All right.
fucking Google it. It's Michael Sheen. Anyway, the point is,
It's good radio.
some people just like radiate sex appeal and you don't expect it. And Michael Sheen is one of those. I was like, oh,
I never
Right.
would have guessed that.
Rachel McAdams, got it. I understand. Now I totally get it. What else? Pablo Schreiber is tall,
Yeah.
extremely tall.
All right, so Allison and I have to share a mic. So I think this
He went
time
to school with Sophie Stanton.
Skeleton.
Oh, that's a different person.
Boy. You guys, they don't really watch the show. They're going to try to tell you that they did.
We
They
did.
didn't.
We watched every minute of this season of
Then
Outlander.
take it away, dudes.
Yep. Come on, romance us with your knowledge of Outlander.
Well, we've already discussed it at length with each other.
Great, that's
Gee,
really
I'm
helpful.
glad it's raining.
Gee, I'm glad. We watched so many movies this year.
We did. We watched a lot of the of Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
You're welcome.
Well,
Jumanji.
that's very helpful, guys.
I do actually have one more gift for Neil.
Oh,
It's inspired by the season of Outlander. It's kind of a turning point to bring the conversation home. This is in case we ever go back in time and get separated.
Would you tell? Don't.
It's radio, bitch.
Yeah, you need to tell us what it is.
Could you show this to the internet, please, for a moment? It is a caricature drawing of, I think, Kevin.
Is that supposed to be Kevin or Neil?
I'm not sure. One of us.
It's me in case we go back in time and get separated.
Oh, it's the charcoal drawing.
You can
Yeah.
show a picture of me to people.
Yeah.
And it says, "Have you seen this boy in the corner?"
Yeah. And it's got
Have you seen this boy?
It's got a head that's much larger than the body, so not
Make
a
sure to
character
frame
in
that
that
shit.
sense.
That's pretty funny.
And a
trying to
T-shirt
get the
that says
likeness.
"Fuck you, Neil," and he's throwing up 2 middle fingers.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, no, it's this one.
Can you tell which one is real and which one's the caricature?
Okay.
How did you lift Kevin so easily?
All right, I'm all out of surprises.
Okay. But yeah,
God.
so Kevin and I,
drink that shit never gets old.
we watched every episode of Outlander together this season at his home. We convened at his home because he's allergic to cats, and it was a little bit rough for him to come here.
I regret having you in my home every other week.
I feel like I've grown much closer to Kevin. I feel like our friendship has really blossomed.
You used my bathroom with the door open several times.
I felt like we had a strong acquaintance with a tenuous bond heading into this season. But
I had to
feel
throw
like
a chair away because you kept farting in it and it smelled so bad.
I feel
had
like
to get rid
a
of it.
genuine love has developed,
I never want you in my home again.
and a comradeship that will will last perhaps after death.
None of that is true.
Wait, what?
Oh, I didn't think you guys were even listening.
I'm not. I'm playing a game that involves merging dragons on my phone.
Oh, it's kind of like how we watched Outlander.
Well, then,
Great. This has been a short podcast.
yes, that's it then, right?
This is the best one we've
you
ever
guys,
done.
Come on, talk about the fucking show. That's
Okay,
why people listen to
We
you.
can interview you if that's what you want, but you have always made it pretty clear that you come with bits.
I think
And-
we've done them all.
Yeah, we ripped through them so fast this year.
The show. All right, here's my fast and dirty observations of the show. All of our main players were as good or better this season than they were last season. The show was dealt sort of ongoing with a lot more difficult subject matter that made it a lot harder for me to make jokes during the show, which was a real disappointment. And yeah, that's about it. The acting generally stepped up. The show was better than last season. It was harder to make fun of, generally.
That is a great summation of your previous summation.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I could do an even shorter one.
Go for it.
Good, same, okay.
Nailed it.
All right, Kevin.
Nailed
What
it.
about your thoughts?
Same, okay. No, I think it's been well documented on this podcast that I am not a fan of this television program, and that did not change this season. I think going back to your premiere episode, which was a fun way to watch the opening of the season, where I was hungover, but I also just wanted to not be there at all for this endeavor.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
I was there to support you guys.
He was there for the beginning and the end. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. Yeah, I feel like I think you guys hit on it. This show has become they've removed a lot of the comedy that was there from the earlier seasons, and I don't know. I feel like it's become more. It takes more energy from me to sit and watch the show than it used to. I have said this to people before. I feel like ever since I left Scotland, the show has not quite been the same, and it really hasn't found that footing yet. Mm-hmm. That keeps me interested.
Did you have more fun watching it last season when it was worse than this season when it was less bad? Did you agree that it was less bad this season?
Oh yeah, this season was less bad, but it's less fun than the first 2 seasons. So
Yeah, I agree.
You're right. They hit on harder stuff this year, and every time they introduce a new character, I feel like they have compounded how hard things are, or what kind of huge life-changing incident they go through. And then other characters like, well, I did something similar, and let's all talk about it. And it just becomes a harder show.
Yeah, and like Sam Huon being like so much better at this point is like it's more fun when he was like just all like head turns and squinty eyes.
All right, I just want to make sure that I understand this. Is your argument that the show is better, but it's harder to heckle and therefore less good?
Oh no, it's still I think easy to heckle. It's
Ooh, full size tree.
it's less the elements of fun that used to be there are pretty much gone right now, I would say. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
When you say elements of fun, you mean the like inherent, like the intentional elements of fun, like adventure and daring do and
Like
stuff.
we kick and punch and fight and kick and put like that shit?
Yeah, like that kind of stuff is pretty much gone.
I'd like to remind you that the first time we hear the we kick and punch and fight and kick music is after a young woman has been raped, runs into the room screaming because she's hysterical, and then there's a fight at a dinner table.
Yeah, but that's not the only time we hear it.
That's true. That's true. We kick and punch and fight and kick and punch and then we fight and then we kick and then we have some sex and then we drink some whiskey. Keep going.
Yes. Oh, I have to keep going.
No, okay. I have some questions.
Yeah, go
how
for
about
it.
how about we do this? What was your favorite moment of the season? I already know Kevin, so I'm just teeing him up for a joke.
But I'll let Neil go first.
Well, I mean, the moment that I actually generally liked the best was probably, or that like grabbed me the most was probably Jamie and what's her name? Brianna's meeting for the first time.
I was going to let him hang out there for a second.
Okay, you know what? Next time I'll let him dangle. It's not like there aren't a lot of complicated names. No. Not that Brianna is a complicated name, motherfucker. All right, so Jamie and Brianna's reunion.
Yeah, or not reunion, but their meeting.
Meeting, yes.
Yeah. That was good.
Did you notice the pea hand?
I know, weirdly, we did not make any pea hand jokes.
What did Juliet? I think that means that you've got a lot of pee on your face. You've got years of pee on your face.
Neil using the bathroom with the door open several times during the season. I can concur that man does not wash his hands. There's pee all over your face and home.
Neil, I am disappointed.
I wash my hands every time I use the bathroom at Kevin's house.
Thank you.
Soap was never used.
At Kevin's house, he says. I mean, I can confirm part of what Kevin is saying, which is that Neil loves to wham in your bathroom. Like, he loves to disrespect a friend's bathroom
hold on.
and then leave. It's like dump and dash.
Wait, here, the actual situation is that I like to wham when it's time to wham. And I'm not dissuaded by the location or the company.
Yeah, but the need to wham doesn't explain the fucking cocky ass strut you do when you come out of the bathroom after disrespecting somebody's bathroom.
The cocky ass strut is because I'm not carrying as much ballast as when I went in. Everything's a little bit easier at that point.
Okay. All right.
Hands off, ladies. He's taken.
Goddamn right.
Okay, so your favorite moment was the very lovely reunion / pea hand scene.
I mean, so it's like the LeBron James thing, right? Like Tom and I have the thing that whenever we're talking about who's good at things in basketball, we always like agree that we're gonna say that we mean implicitly besides LeBron James.
Okay.
Right? Who's good? Who's the best in the NBA at this thing? I mean, except for besides LeBron James. Right? So yes, that was probably my favorite moment, assuming that we're not counting any time Rolo's on screen.
Oh, what a good dog.
He's a good dog.
He's a very good dog. So my favorite moment happened in the very first episode of the season, and it was the quick shot of Galus naked, covered in blood.
It's a good moment, though.
It is a good moment.
It's the best moment of the season
This
from last
season
year.
could have used more.
Right? Where was all the doing it in general in this?
There
series?
have been hot takes all over the internet about why there was not any doing it this season.
Tried very hard, but did not get called on to ask a question about that during a panel. And actually, you know what? That's not fair. I'm exaggerating to make it sound simpler than it is. I was planning to ask a question about the reduction in the frequency and duration of sex scenes on Outlander and the reasoning behind it and whatever. Because Meryl Davis, who's one of the two female producers on the show, primary producers on the show, who I think is currently considered the showrunner, I would have to check on that, did a panel at TCA with Katrina and a bunch of other women from Stars. Only TCA. All these networks kept programming these panels. I think that one was maybe called Fiercely Female.
Barf.
Well, in theory, it's a good idea, right? You get women together who work in positions of power at your network and then talk about the work. And the only way that we're going to change things is to increase visibility and give them platforms and put them in front of microphones and all of that stuff. And that's great, right? So basically they're asking us to cover this female talent, a lot of it behind the camera. That said, the people in the room predominantly men, love to ask questions that were just bullshit. So
Give us a few.
Well, this was not an all female panel, and it was not a question from a man. It was a question from a woman. And I'm not going to say what show it was because I don't want to like talk shit about a journalist I don't know because I don't know her.
Right. Wait, say it like Mariah Carey, though.
I don't know her.
Okay.
I don't. No, it's not like that. I genuinely don't know her. But she asked a panelist why she was interested in producing a specific program about a woman who is not about a character who does not meet what we would consider the standards of conventional beauty. Mm-hmm. By saying you've always been beautiful. Why were you interested in this material?
Oh.
Yeah. It was, you watched everybody on the panel
Do exactly what the three of us
clench
just
their
did.
buttholes. Yeah, it was really something else. Yeah. But there was a lot of like, what do you think it means to have more women behind the camera? And like, what does the female sensibility do? And people weren't just asking questions about the filmmaking. Anyway, point being, I wanted to ask Meryl a question about the sex on Outlander, and then the questions were so bad that I was like, this is just going to sound like a bad question in this context. Like, it's just going to sound like I just want them to talk about girl shit, when really, like, I actually have this question.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is the sex ramped down in the books, or is the sex in the books
No.
fairly constant?
I mean, you know what? Actually, it might slow down a little, just because homesteading is really hard work. But when it happens, and it definitely happens more frequently, I mean, it's in explicit detail.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like exactly what is done to nipples and
And what is that?
Yes, please, and speak slowly.
This is so weird. I feel like I'm talent on a panel at the TCAs. It's it's like Diana Gabaldon writes. For anybody who wants to read good books, but writes as a woman about a woman who's been married for a long time. She's also been married for a long time. So it's two people who are intimately familiar with each other's bodies and are not shy about it. So, it's like they have extremely intimate sex. Sometimes it's like fast and quick and hot, and sometimes it's like, let's set aside 6 hours and we'll start in the bathtub and just see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, there's sex they plan for, and there's sex that happens spontaneously, and a lot of it, and sometimes it's sad, and sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's hot, and it's all over the place.
Except in season 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think my biggest problem with season 4 is that they just, anytime, with the exception of Bree and Roger, anytime there was boning, they just cut away.
And I mean, do we think that it could be an intentional moving away from it? And are they shooting themselves in the foot with some of the reasons people watch the show in the first place?
Maybe there's a lot of conversation in the fandom about the Outlander fandom is real mad at me right now, guys.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. Because I said they should.
Please speak into the mic.
Because I said that they should just accept the fact that it's a fucking television show and not a book.
You mean the thing on TV?
Yes. There's a lot of like, why did you cut this? Why did you cut that? There's a lot of conversation about essentially, and nobody uses this term. Well, I'm not going to say nobody uses this term. People do. But most people don't use this term, but they're essentially saying that like they've castrated Jamie and made him like, he's too sensitive. He's not an alpha male
Wait,
anymore.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. So I kind of lied a little bit. We like half pay attention when we watch it. Did they actually castrate
No.
Jamie this season?
Bitch. No, it's it's like they think it's an SJW thing. They need Jamie to be less alpha because they have to be hip to the times. It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. Jamie does almost all of the things that Jamie does in the books. It's just that it's not, if they were to do everything that happens in the books, there would be fucking 97 seasons of television in which, a bunch of episodes in which not very much happens.
How is that different than a couple episodes this season?
Oh, bitch.
They also have a whole thing about the character of Claire being shrewish and not welcoming enough and not loving. So the same people who think that Jamie's character has been demanded think that she's not womanly enough.
And on the flip side, there are other people that think that they just relegated her to a back seat and that she's too submissive and that she's not forward enough. There's a lot of projection on those two characters in particular. And then on top of that, there are people who just are not interested in Brianna and Roger at all. And then other people who think there's nowhere near enough Brianna and Roger. It's just, and they all think that they speak for the Outlander fandom as a whole, which is bonkers. And that's not everybody, right? Like, it's a small but vocal minority. They also don't like when you say this, because then you're tarnishing the reputation of the Outlander fandom, for which they personally speak for as a whole again. So anyway, they're mad at me because I said it's a TV show and not a book.
I hear you. There's a guy at my gym, old fella, a former pro baseball player.
Oh, no way. What's his name?
I'm not going to say his name.
Nobody cares.
Now works for the Chicago Parks Department, fighting to get his Social Security. Anyway, this is a whole different story. But he always wants to corner me and talk to me about what's wrong with the depictions of Thor in the Marvel movies. Oh. All the time. Wants to always tell me.
Ain't nothing wrong with Thor.
Not a damn thing. You've met my fella. Mm-hmm. That was a chair and not a fart.
Wait, let me see if I can do it again.
It was definitely a fart. I take it back.
You Starbirds just ripping ass everywhere.
Yeah, it's there's a problem with purity. A lot of times when people talk about fandoms and specifically adaptation, which doesn't mean that there's not a point to be made about that. Like, there are choices in the adaptation that I don't love. Mm-hmm. And if you were to talk to my fella about the Zack Snyder Batman movies, he, first of all, won't ever stop talking. And I'm really sorry.
Superman. The Zack Snyder Superman movies.
But also Batman. Also Batman versus Superman.
Oh, yeah,
specifically.
yes, sorry. Yep.
Because he just is really bothered by the choices that they made. And that, to be honest, like, his perspective makes perfect sense to me, because it's about fundamental things about the character that are being changed in ways that don't make sense to the circumstances of the character. In this case, the characters we're watching on the screen are the fucking characters from the book. Like, there isn't a change. There's not a change in backstory. There's not a change in motivation. It's just that people don't like that they excluded this part or this part or this other part or this other part. It's very
And you think
strange.
they're trying to blow it up to be about core principles of the characters.
I think they honestly believe that it's about core principles of the characters.
I think they believe it,
because yes, and everybody's opinion is valid. It's just that when the way you react to it is to
Burn it all down!
Yeah, well, to fucking harass people on the internet about it, which is really the problem. I mean, they also are all convinced that Outlander is going to get canceled because the fans are fleeing, and Outlander is the second most popular show on Starz after Power, which is a massive draw. So it's not going anywhere. I mean, they haven't even started shooting the 5th season yet, and they did this Starz panel and had fucking 2 people from Outlander on it. They have nothing to promote. They haven't even started shooting, and they had them there because Outlander is a serious meal ticket for them.
Well, I mean, not knowing anything about the books, I mean, Kevin, I'm sure you'll have a take, but
I do.
I mean, I would not think that Jamie was like less manly or less alpha watching him beat the shit out of a man he doesn't know anything about just because one person told him, like, hey, that, you know, and Claire seems like a total fucking boss running that farm and like doing her thing, you know, like, so, but I haven't read the books, so I could be wrong.
I have, and I agree with you.
I agree with you too. I don't feel like, I feel maybe out of all of those arguments that you listed, the one that I kind of agree with is that Jamie and Claire this season took a backseat to Roger and Bree. But I think that's just because narratively it's newer and you have some of those things that we might have missed in the 20-year time jump while they were apart to kind of cover between Disturbance and Dogface. But
Wait, what?
Oh, that's right. I used their nicknames that other people on this dumb show gave them. Not this dumb show, meaning your show, but the actual television show.
Oh, right, because Bree is a Disturbance in Gallic and Dogface.
Yeah. Wow, Kevin, it always impresses me that you listen.
You know, Kevin, it sounds so much meaner coming from you.
Listen, I stand by it.
But when you say Dogface, I picture the dad from Teen Wolf.
How fucking dare you? Do not bring Teen Wolf into this.
I will say one other thing that surprised me in the furor, in the Bree.
Oh!
That's come after.
Where's my fan?
All this shit. The one thing I thought for sure everybody could fucking agree on is that it was a really good call to not kill Myrta so that you could keep Duncan LaCroix around, right? No. Nope. There are people out there who think that the reason that season 4 was so bad. Julie didn't even move her hands, but I could feel her body making a wanking off gesture, like without moving her hands.
Please.
I mean, there are lots of people who think season 3 was better. That's like a lot. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's how I'm like, really?
Do those people watch TV or?
Do you think it's because the part of it was still in Scotland? Because of the whole prison, we met Lord John Grey, we had all that stuff.
I mean, I will say I think that for the most part, the highs in season 3 are a little bit higher, but I also think the lows were lower, like considerably lower. So,
And too much boat.
Yeah. And the lows are backloaded.
yes.
Like you got all the lows at the end of the season.
Yes. And too much boat. And you know what?
they were
You
coming
know what
to
the
America.
worst fucking part of season 4 was? The fucking green screen canoes. So, boats, stay off them.
But I will say this: the best part of season 4 was all of the foliage porn from the establishing shots
Oh
of
God, he
Fraser's
loves
Ridge.
foliage porn.
I love foliage porn.
Foliage porn. You guys, I had no idea, but he legit is like all about some shots of autumnal.
Just
this.
do you show
You
me
like
some
leaf
leaves?
peeping?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to find me in the fall, I go up to Vermont for 7-8 weeks, and I just sit
No, you
and
don't.
stare out my window every day.
You do not.
I look at the slow hand of death creeping in on leaves. It's idyllic.
beautiful.
Wait, now I kind of believe him.
I got a nice little cabin up there. You're not invited because you'll just blow it out.
Let me ask about since I already
I gotta find
mentioned
that cabin.
our favorite fellow. What did you think about the resurrection of the pamplemousse?
Well, I think part of my argument that I'm just going to make all the time is that when you leave behind Scotland, you leave behind all of these characters that we spend 2 years getting to know, and they develop, and then you see the relationship. Leaving all of that behind in season 3, or a majority of that behind in season 3, just kind of, I think, shit the bed real hard. So to have someone come back, and someone that actually is a good actor and can lift a scene up, I think. To me, I enjoyed that because I don't really like adult Fergus as much as I liked kid Fergus.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting all of those kind of connections that they had previously. So to have someone come back,
Were you surprised? I wasn't surprised.
no, not surprised at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Not surprised. Happy, but
Yeah. With the character that big, I'm like, if I don't see the body, then,
Totally.
kind of like the guy from the bad guy from this year that like doesn't blow up, but they think blows up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's totally dead. I'm sure he totally got blowed up in the prison explosion.
You know, the real twist would be if some movie franchise or TV series only killed people off on screen, only killed people off screen, and then they never came back. That would be the real twist. No.
Is like Game of Thrones or something?
No, I'm
What is
saying that's real. If you really wanted to surprise people making a TV show, you wanted to kill people off and they only ever died off screen,
Right.
then you really would never know who was going to come back.
Like classic drama style, where a messenger just runs in and tells you about all
My
about
lord,
the
the
horrible
queen
way
is
they
dead.
died,
Yeah.
and then it was true.
yeah,
right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes not. Then you'd really be in suspense. God, it's fine. Daphne, give me a call. I've got thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm glad to have Murtaugh back. Totally fine. I mean, he's more frustrating this season, right? To whatever extent, like I get pulled in by the drama and like start rooting for this character and that other character, like Murtaugh's whole thing. You know what? Actually, here's the thing. They're all such terrible time travelers.
Yeah.
Right? Murtaugh knows about the time travel. Jamie knows about the time travel. Claire is right there, a time traveler. Now there's 2 more time travelers. And you've still got Murtaugh, like, agitating for, like, overthrowing the British governor, like, 20 years or whatever before. I have no idea what year this is in
Not
like,
that far.
okay.
1764, I believe.
Yeah, but so they could just be like, yo, dude, like, chill for a decade. It's all going to happen.
Well,
He'll be dead.
I mean, he started doing all of that stuff before they found each other. And I don't know how much talking they did about the American Revolution when they were in France.
He might have
But they're
been.
there now.
Yeah, but he might have been
Yeah,
part
but he
of what
already did
started
that.
the revolution, is what we're saying.
But he's
Yeah.
still doing it, right? And
Right.
they're not saying like Claire and Jamie aren't being like, "Yo, chill," because here's what's going to happen. They're just like, "Oh gosh, how do I keep from having to hunt my friend?"
That's fair.
Well, how about you could keep from
they
hunting
don't
him by telling him, "Yo, in 10 years, all this shit's going to get blowed up."
Well, yes, that's fair. My thing about how do I keep from hunting my friend is here's how you keep from hunting your friend. You find a corpse, you light it on fire, and then you
Right.
drop it at the governor's mansion and say, hey, here's that guy. And then you just
well,
have
they're clearly all going to die in a fake fire, right?
Spoilers for season 5. Yeah.
Well, no, Murtaugh's dead. Like, this is all theory.
But he
Murtaugh's
didn't.
dead in the books.
He replaced another character that's in the books, right?
No. So he replaced sort of, I mean, it looks like he's kind of replacing several characters, but all of the entry points are totally different. So, for instance, everything that's happening with Jocasta, that doesn't happen with anyone in the books.
Oh, she doesn't fuck anybody in the books? Ooh.
She
Good for her.
it's different. She certainly has like a romantic interest, but it is mostly asexual. There is no like shoulder biting that we see. There's also, we don't know any of the regulators intimately. Like there are regulators and we meet them and talk to them, but it's not anybody within the circle. So, so mostly it's new ground. It's familiar areas, but approached in new ways. And I don't know what is going to happen with Jocasta. I'm curious to see where they take that. The character I thought he was going to replace is the mostly asexual love interest of Jocasta, who happens to only have one arm, Duncan Innes. But obviously he has 2 arms, and it's pretty fucking sexual. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Surprise Jocasta Murtaugh boning.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I was here making mac and cheese when you guys talked about it on the
So it
podcast
wasn't a
before I
surprise
saw
for
the
you.
episode, so I knew it was going to happen.
And I was at the live show where you guys talked a lot about it hours before I saw the episode, so
Oh,
I
right.
knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. So we were fine with it.
Nonplussed.
Yeah, it was great.
Just run of the mill.
But I mean, were you into it?
I mean,
I was
that's a
more-
weird. The phrasing.
Yeah.
The
Not
question
like
is
into
interesting.
it like you got semis.
Not like-
I mean,
yeah.
like, were you into it
but
narratively?
what if I did?
I mean, then great. I'm very
Yeah.
happy for you.
Get out of my home forever. I mean, I think I was more into the fact that I knew that the
But you're in
episode
my
was
home
almost
right
over.
now.
All right. The episode was almost over, meaning the season was almost over, and then I was done watching. That's what I think I was most excited about. I think it's great. I don't know, you see all these people suffer so much at times that you want them to have a little bit of something good, and so fucking good for them. Why not? Everybody fuck. Everybody just go fuck somebody. With consent.
I have some doing it questions
Okay.
Oh, like
for the
how?
dudes.
Or-
Yes. No. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck off. All right. What did you think about this chair? Really is making it sound like I'm farting.
It really is.
So the central and most important sex scene this season. I'm sorry that your OE sucks because I know it sucks.
I fucking love it.
Ugh, disgusting. Is the Bree and Roger hand fast doing it in front of the fire scene?
Right. Mm-hmm. That was
Do you-
solid doing it.
Thoughts? Okay, cool. Now, I didn't
Agree? Disagree?
Oh, no, I think I had nothing further to add or contrast.
Some of the best doing it in the season.
It was the best doing it.
It was.
in the season.
I
Yeah.
agree. Now, from a cultural standpoint, as white men, I just need to hear your voice here. Just kidding. Why don't we see more dongs on television? Go.
Oh, because, white men are controlling most TV and dongs are gross.
Why are they scared of dongs?
Can I ask a question? Is there a rating? Are there rules? Are there
Yes.
Are there rules about like how much breast you can show versus how much dong you can show? Like female breast versus male genitalia you can show?
Or like how much of vagina you can show versus how much donger you can show. Like,
Well, it all
Is
depends on
upstairs
the. I mean, there's there are different ratings between TV and film, right? Like, and different standards. And certainly there's a big difference between subscription cable packages, basic cable packages, and
Right.
network television. With network, it's like you can't suggest that somebody just pooped. Like, you can't show somebody wiping their ass, even if you can't see their ass and shit like that. There's all the conversation you and I had last year about words, Neil, where like on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, they can say, can't believe she didn't come, as long as the word come is followed by, and tell me what she needed.
Right. You got to eat the peach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, let's get around the standards, was tell me of your sins and tempt me with their luridness. Let me something. Let me choke on your cocksuredness.
Yeah.
Which is followed by an ensemble of dancers singing innuendo, and it just makes me laugh every time.
So I guess for stars, like, are there any considerations for stars for having full frontal male nudity as often as they want to?
Well, I know for sure, although I don't know the specifics of it, that there is a big difference between a boner and a flaccid penis. And Outlander has...
Inches.
in terms of the way, whether it's going to be on TV.
General comfort.
That said, Stars has had boners on TV. There's the most talked about scene from the first season of American Gods is two men having sex, and you see one of them ejaculate like fire essentially into the other one.
Yep.
That sounds normal.
And
that
it's
was
like
the
a
genie.
huge wang. I almost said ween. That's
He
not
did.
right.
The cabbie that had sex with the genie, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Back for season 2. They showed up in promo photos. Anyway, so they can, but I think it's just, in addition to being a lot more rare, I assume it's harder to actually justify. But there have been wangs on Outlander.
I'm sorry.
There just have not been boners.
When you say harder to justify,
That was actually my question.
I'm
like,
assuming
culturally.
to standards and practices. I'm talking about what can and can't be shown on TV. Culturally, people, for whatever reason, female nudity is more acceptable and more titillating because nobody cares really about what women want to see.
do you think female actors are more willing to bear more in the job than male actors are?
I don't know. I see a lot of male butts.
Yep.
There are lots and lots of dude butts. And you see a lot of male torsos. I think, and you also, it's not like you see a ton of vag on TV.
Well, when you say vag, do you just mean like the female pubic hair, like pubic region,
I'm
or are we
talking
talking about
like
spread open?
Yeah,
like
like it's not like you see a ton of labia on TV.
that's very rare.
It's there though, like it happens.
I would say you see. I feel like I see more dong than I see actual labia.
Yes, I would agree.
This is
Right?
a strange conversation.
Yeah.
This is the conversation Julie would have.
I knew that it would take us somewhere interesting.
Well, it's a good question.
This is interesting. God, I hope someone
To
finds
me?
this interesting.
But whether we say more dong than labia, which I intuitively feel is true, is obviously totally outweighed by like the sexualization of the female form over the male form,
Sure.
like across all film
and
forever.
we consider a topless woman a sexual object, and we do not consider a topless man. I mean, we
Right.
can, but men have their shirts off for all kinds of reasons.
on
If women
CBS,
ha-
men can go topless on CBS.
Yes.
Nobody wanted to see that on the Super Bowl.
if
Your Maroon 5.
I mean,
nips?
that's true. Oh, I didn't want to see it. I can't speak for every listener,
really?
listener of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't.
I think it's just because I didn't want to see what's his name.
Maroon 5?
Yeah, Maroon 5. I didn't want to see Maroon 5 shirtless in the first place. I didn't
Yeah.
sign up for this.
Adam Levine.
Sure.
Here's the thing. Here's the issue that I have.
But if any listeners like we're down for that, like whatever, you get your thing.
If our little strong sexual content and nudity and all that shit that Stars does at the beginning of every episode, if Jamie is shirtless, there's not going to be a nudity warning.
Right.
If Claire is topless, even if it's because she's like, I don't know, tossed in a lake, if she's doing laundry, if it's like, if it's scary, if it's, any number of reasons, non-sexual things, it will still give you a warning of nudity because breasts are considered, sexual and
And
intimate.
there's a code, standards of practice or whatever, so that
It's
the
weird.
code that requires the code, right? So, but for Julie, I don't know. I do suspect that male actors are getting their way a little bit more and are able to decline that, or feel more able to decline that than possibly female actors are able to do.
I will say, Stars has a new show coming out called Now Apocalypse, made by a sort of an indie film stalwart named Greg Araki, which is just full
that
of
guy.
nudity, loads of nudity, and loads of doing
I
it.
watched a movie by that guy in the 90s. It was something.
I have a question, Allison. I'm going to just ask you because it's more interesting than Outlander. HBO has like the new sex consultant, right? I don't know the right term for it, right? Or intimacy love consultant or something.
Intimacy choreographer.
Thank you. Has Stars picked up something like that or more networks doing that?
It's a show-by-show basis. It's a little trickier because TV shows are produced by production companies, some of which are in network and some of which aren't, which is why, for example, Netflix is unlikely to keep making a ton of Marvel shows because they're not produced by Netflix. They're produced by Marvel and ABC. Or it was easy for, Brooklyn Nine-Nine to make the leap to NBC because the production companies already have ties to NBC. A network is less likely to cancel something that they produce because it costs them less money because they're not paying somebody else to license it. So basically, intimacy choreographers and coaches. It's a show by show basis. We had a conversation at TCA with somebody. Oh, it was I think it was the Now Apocalypse people were talking about they don't have one because this actress who's on the show who's French said that she thinks it would make it 1,000,000 times more awkward than her, that she views intimacy scenes as sort of jumping in cold water, and that's the best way to do it. You just do it and like follow your instincts, and if you feel safe, then great, and if you put too much on it, then you're just going to be in your head about it and you're just going to feel uncomfortable, and that would be worse for her. And obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. I think it's a really good development, but no, it's not an industry standard by any means.
With this show in particular, I think they've always done a good job with the intimacy, whether it's consensual or non-consensual in the show. I think they've always done a very good job of depicting it, and it's more often than not either integral to the story or like a nice moment of relief that through that we learn more about the characters in those intimate moments. So I was just curious if maybe they were like, yeah, let's get one and see if that...
I'd be curious to know. I don't know. I know that The Wedding, which is by far the most sexual of the episodes, that's the most time they spend on sex, and even the scenes that aren't sexual are either flashbacks or it's sort of like in between acts and they're just sort of together and like naked and talking about shit. That was directed by a woman. A lot of the scenes that have a lot of sexual content were directed by women, and I do think that makes a difference, which isn't to say that there aren't male directors who do really great work in safe environments with female performers, but The Wedding certainly feels like an episode of TV that was either directed by a woman or directed by a dude who understands how the female brain works and the female body, because that's sadly rare.
Which episode are we talking about?
The Wedding.
No, but... Oh, you mean from the first?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you fucking keep up?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's the old E. It's going straight to my brain-o.
All right. Well, that brings me to my final question that I had for you guys, because I thought about all these things like boom, boom, boom. It's clear they're related. So we talked about Brian Rogers doing it. We talked about why don't we get to see more dongs on television, and what the fuck is y'all's problem? And then this is a little bit of a left turn, but we're having the conversation that led into it. How did you guys feel about, or did you notice the way that Bree's rape by Stephen Bonnet was filmed?
Neil, I feel like you haven't said anything worthwhile in a while. Do you want to take this one?
Well, there's a leading part of that question, which is
No.
I just want to let me clarify what I mean. That if I noticed how it was filmed, I did not notice how it was filmed, and I'm not sure I know what you mean by that at all. So what I'm sure, because I don't know what you mean by that, I assume that means I did not notice what you're talking about.
Okay, so if you remember, do you got something?
When you say how it was filmed, do you mean how it was filmed or how it was put together?
Yes,
because there is the moment of it's intercut several times between in the room where it happens. That's for you, Allison. And then outside of the room with a bunch of complicit guys just playing cards, I think. Mm-hmm. And it cuts back and forth between that. And there's ever so often you get a shot of somebody hearing the muffled screams, and then they would have a look of like, maybe I should. I'm not going to do anything. Like you would get.
Oh, I didn't even get the impression they felt like they should do it.
I feel like there were a couple of times where someone would glance down and have a slight moment of recognition that they should not have let this happen in the way in which it is happening. But
I
they
think you're
weren't.
giving them too much credit, but maybe you're right.
Well, I think
Maybe you're
I'll
right.
try to believe in the best in human beings, you asshole.
There's also the question of, is it actually any better if somebody knows it's wrong and does nothing than if they don't think it's wrong and do nothing? There's some ways where you might be actually worse. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I think that you're right that Julie is maybe asking about the perspective, the way in which the story is put together. And like, am I right? And going back and forth between the tap room and the room in which it's happening. And
I mean, it was super effective. It was. I don't know what to say. That's not just obvious. It was fucking awful. So
Yeah, I think it's a good choice to not show it uninterrupted what's happening in the room. Mm-hmm. I think as a viewer who's using this for, well, I'm going to take this out of my perspective. As someone who would watch this show as an escape for enjoyment, which is not me, I think that it's somehow more effective to take it in and out of that space than to just leave it in the room, where it would be extremely challenging to watch. And we've seen scenes on the show like that already that have been difficult to watch. And so I think possibly showing that there are complicit people outside of this room as well. And to know that this has happened probably more times than just a disturbance, that I think it's just helpful, and I think it makes it a little bit stronger of a moment. It keeps it a little bit in our brains a little bit more in the way that it was put together. I don't know. I thought it was nicely done.
I'll tell you this. I've thought more about that hand reaching down to drop Brianna's boots neatly on the outside of the door, taking care of her footwear more than they take care of her as a human being, is the most striking image this season, maybe of the whole series for me, in terms of something that's not about the actors, like just a visual composition. And Outlander is pretty good at that because of these really cool title cards they do, where you see really striking images that have nothing to do with the people, and they're good at using that kind of filmmaking to advance the story. But that was like a one shot illustration that indicts society as a whole in the violent act perpetrated on this young woman, which I think is pretty fucking efficient. Yeah. But I've thought about that. I've thought about those boots a lot.
I feel like this series has been nothing but like illuminating for me, just for me personally, nothing but good to illuminating as far as the way it deals with sexual assault throughout the entire series. It's dealt with that subject as well as any piece of entertainment that I recall, mass market entertainment that I recall ever seeing. And this season's no exception in that regard.
Like the conversations that they have where Disturbance and Jamie talk about both of their shared assaults and how she wants to kill him. I mean, they handle that really well. Or the moments in early season 2 or the very last episode of season 1 where Claire and Jamie are talking about what took place in that prison, and he can't bear to be touched by her. Like they handle that stuff well.
Yeah, but also despite like what Jamie's been through, that he still feels like when it happens to someone that he loves, that he can somehow make it better with his fists, right?
You can just punch a stranger.
Yeah, if you punch a stranger enough, that it's going to make it all better, which it does absolutely nothing for, little to nothing for the victim.
I will
really.
say, I totally agree. I think that it's a little more complicated in this case, because obviously the other time that this happens to date is when Jamie attempts to kill Blackjack Randall after, and you know that he already wants to kill him for what he did to him, but what drives him to do it and to break his oath is when he finds out that he's also assaulted Fergus. And that, you don't remember that?
I barely remember this season. I don't remember that. So,
That's season 2.
okay, we'll pretend like I remember it. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Do you? I mean, you remember? I'm sure because you've joked to me about it. I'm sure you remember.
Wait, you might want to give some context for that.
No, because I'm sure you remember the thing I'm about to say because you joked to me about it. How about that? When Jamie stabbed Blackjack Randall in the dick.
Yes, I recall.
Yeah, that was over Fergus. Not like literally. I mean, it was Fergus wasn't there, but it's after Jamie discovers that Blackjack has also assaulted Fergus in the whorehouse where he was living. Yeah. Also, it's the conversation you're talking about between Jamie and Disturbance. It's not very catchy.
It's not though.
It doesn't
In
matter.
the D-Bance. No,
Doesn't matter.
that's not good. It's the second time that conversation happens like that in this season, because the first one is Jamie and Wheon talking, and Wheon talking about the nightmares that he's having about Galus. So they're good at making sure that it just doesn't go away and disappear as a force in their lives.
Which is interesting because I kind of feel like what happened with Rufus just kind of was incredibly impactful, and then disappeared from the rest of the season.
With Rufus?
Right. They left River Run, and then we didn't really see like
For
that
some
kind of stuff
reason
again.
in my head,
Is it because I used the actual character name?
yeah, well,
No,
yes.
I knew who Rufus
No,
was.
in my head, for some reason, I thought you were talking about Rupert. And I was like, well, I don't know. I've thought a lot about keep up on need to keep a quick piss. Like, I've thought about that a lot, but also it doesn't have anything to do with sexual assault. Need to keep a quick piss. Piss with his one eye. It's a good scene.
All right. Speaking of characters with our names. Oh, wait, that was a terrible segue.
Character's name Julie and Allison?
No, not our names. Our names.
Your husband's a real dick.
He's a dick.
I like wordplay.
Let's talk about speaking of wordplay.
tell.
Speaking of wordplay, let's talk a little bit about Roger. Oh no, you guys don't like him?
I am not a fan
Whatever.
of Dogface.
What,
All right.
Okay, get on it. Tell us
Okay.
why. Talk about his story arc and what makes you
No.
pissed about
Actually,
it.
can we briefly pause just so we don't have to do all this at the end and read some viewer comments?
Yes, please.
Because we've got
Anything to avoid Roger.
we are also, so those of you who are not Patreon subscribers, we are currently, as we're recording, live streaming this session for the folks at home.
Half
Wait,
of this session.
Are you saying that I'm on camera right now?
Hi guys. All right. So some thoughts. We'll put it back on them. At least a little.
Julie, can you write down so we
we
can
go.
talk about Roger? Because I've got a
it right here.
a personal story.
Okay.
So bring
I'm
that into
picking this up
context.
so that I can read. So Ann Gavin says, totally agree. Show is show. Book is book. Entitled fans need to go away.
Well, don't go away from the podcast, though.
I really don't think those people are listening.
We're definitely not the show for them. Okay, next. Agree with Kevin. That's a first.
Holy
Are you okay, Neil?
Wrong pipe. That won't help. No, don't touch me.
Gee, I'm
Okay.
glad it's raining.
And Kevin, agree with Kevin that having Myrta come back connects us back to Scotland, which I really missed being part of the show. That's very nice.
Hey, Kevin.
Booyah.
Janlander Drunkland says BJR shows his floppy dong in S1 when he can't rape Jenny.
We remember that.
Yep. She also says, oh, wait, or in Wentworth Prison. I think it might be both. Here's the thing. Definitely Jenny laughs at the beach for not having a boner as a survival tactic. That scene is also very upsetting.
And very dangerous.
Yeah.
That's also one of the biggest crimes, I think, of this season, is being robbed of Jenny from the Lalu Bra.
Well, we didn't get Laura Donnelly for the best possible reason.
She was in a show, right?
Well, yeah, her husband, fiance, partner, somebody wrote a story, I think wrote a play based on the life of her grandmother or a great-grandmother or something, and it was a huge hit in the West End, and now it's on Broadway. So, and she stars in it.
Oh, okay.
So,
I
yeah.
was like, wait, we didn't get her because her husband wrote a play?
For her.
Him, I guess.
And it was a big hit in the West End, and now is
Julie.
playing on Broadway.
Can we see 2 shows in New York in April?
King Lear is enough.
Okay.
Oh, come on, Laura Donnelly. I could try to get you a fucking press ticket.
Oh my God.
That's real.
Well, there's
Yeah,
4
but we
of
have
us,
to
though.
take 4 people.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
You guys can wear one big trench coat, and someone can get on someone else's
Hey,
shoulders.
Shumi
That's
loves
Allison's
that
favorite
bag.
D&D tactic.
It's the best way to sneak people places.
No
Those were
one,
the
no one
days.
knows what this is about, Shumi, but I miss that so much.
Me too. Me too.
When I had a hobbit, or what do you call it, halfling, and she had a dwarf, and we used to do that routine all the time.
Well, and I was like like tough, and he thought he was tough, but he was a really good archer.
Yeah. Not Reed. Not
baby
tough.
tree. And he would stand on my fictional shoulders, and then we would put on long capes and go on adventures.
So great.
It was really fun. It never worked, but when it did, it was always so much better than doing it the normal way.
Your character was Lord Dortmorth Stoutmorth the Tall?
Yeah, Lord Dortmorth Stoutmorth the Tall. I think it was the very tall. And then later I killed a dragon by myself, and it became the tall, the dragon killer.
Yeah.
I just found something I hate more than Outlander.
What?
This conversation right now.
That's your fucking loss, man.
So Roger.
You're just jealous because you are Lord Kevmorth Stoutmorth the Short.
Oh,
little buddy.
I don't like it.
Little buddy.
No.
Just kidding, Pam.
Someone's not getting a caricature for her fucking birthday.
Thank you.
So with Roger, there's only really one Roger thing I care to be in on, and I'll let Kevin do any of the Roger stuff. Did I miss something, which is totally possible? Where the fuck was he for the whatever period of time in between when Jamie and Claire came back to River Run and when he came back?
Oh, he needed
'Cause
time
he-
to think.
He didn't. But where did he go? What was he doing?
For like days?
He camped. Yeah. I mean, he was extremely traumatized.
He didn't go like find the North American Dick Rocks, the Delaware Dick Rocks, or anything like that.
He might have.
So we don't know. There's no idea.
I-
You might know, but you can't tell us.
To the best of my recollection.
Should I expect an answer to my question, or is it just that he was off thinking?
Well, I mean, I think he was off thinking. I suspect that they got out of the wilderness together and he went to like a tavern or some shit. But also in my memory, he did relocate the Delaware Dick Rocks.
Yes.
Too far north.
Let's do it.
Yes, I was
The
going to say
Delaware
Neil's
Dick
sense of geography is far off
Yeah,
by calling them
but
the
now
Delaware
they're
Dick Rocks.
definitely the Delaware Dick Rocks.
Rocks. Love that alliteration.
It's the only thing in Delaware.
Oh, look, Delaware.
We could call them the
Joe Biden and the Dick
Synecdoche
Rocks.
Stone Circle, but that's not as good.
I do like it, though. I like a use of Schenectady.
Well, it's good. Anyway, yeah, I guess I did say Synecdoche, which is the movie, not Schenectady, which is the town.
Mm-hmm.
And Synecdoche is about fuck Charlie Kaufman. Not really. I love Charlie Kaufman. Anyway,
The Maryland Manstones. I don't know.
the Upstate Uprights.
That's good.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks.
God, this chair.
You're really. It's I mean, I just got to say, Julie, my chair hasn't made a single farting noise.
It's only when I'm not paying attention.
Okay. Roger shit. So I continue to be unfulfilled by Roger.
Question
Kevin?
though, before Kevin dives in, question:
Yeah.
Is it unfulfilled by Roger or unfulfilled by Roger and Richard Rankin? Like, are you into the performance and just not the character, or is it both?
I don't think I have any problem with the performance. Yeah, I don't think I have any problem with the performance. I couldn't really point to anything about that, really. I know he had one monologue that Julie told me I was really going to love that I ended up only half paying attention to, so I did not have the same experience with the monologue that I think other folks did. I can't speak for Kevin. I'll let Kevin speak about that when his Roger section that he's about to do here in a second. Yeah, I mean, all the stuff he did in North Carolina or wherever, Virginia, wherever the fuck that shit happens, in his present day, when they go to the festival and the whole like fucking crazy ass fucking marriage proposal and everything,
Heel turn. Yeah.
was not the person that I thought, I was getting in the prior seasons. Mm-hmm. So it came a little bit out of nowhere. I didn't love it. He hasn't really done anything to
Redeem himself?
it, really. He went to a bar. Apparently, went to a bar for 7 days to think about it or something.
When I say a tavern, back then, a tavern was like a hotel. Well,
Okay.
it's like the shit you invent in D&D.
Okay.
It's like a hotel and a grocery store
Yeah.
and a bar
So he went
and a pharmacist
He went
and
camped
a
out at a
barber shop.
hojo for 6 days or whatever, and then showed up. And I'm just basically he's at the point now where he walks on screen. And I'm just like, ugh. That's where I'm at with that character right now.
All right, Kevin.
I think his performance is as bland as the turtlenecks he wears.
Shots fired.
I don't care. It's been a long time since I gave a shit about Roger on the show, and this season I feel like did nothing to encourage that.
It's crazy. Oh, he cannot have a biscuit.
If Neil was half paying attention to that monologue, then I was a quarter paying attention to that monologue in the Idiot Hut. I just didn't.
He remembers Idiot Hut, though.
Yeah, because I listen to your podcast. That's how I know anything about the show.
Oh God, it's like we're Spark Nodes. But we are though.
Or PubMed. Nobody gets that?
No.
Okay, sorry.
What?
All right.
Good chime in.
PubMed?
Never mind.
Is that more wordplay because it's consistent with your other output?
We'll say yes.
Okay, so I have a Roger story.
Oh boy, a story.
And I was hoping that Janine would be here because he's the only other person that this might be applicable to.
Okay.
So
Janine the Silver Fox?
The one and the same. Mm-hmm. So he and I don't know, this might be different, but he and I are the only ones that aren't in long-term committed relationships. So he and I are the only ones that are currently doing online dating. And
listeners, I'll have you know that Kevin just stopped what he was doing, turned to the camera in my computer, winked, and did an incredibly awkward thumbs up. And now he gave one to me, and suddenly I want to date him. Continue.
Okay, so
Sorry, Tom.
So online dating. Sorry, Tom.
Don't worry, he doesn't listen.
I have on numerous occasions matched with women who have Outlander somewhere in their bio, like shows I like or something about Outlander, only because I have this large knowledge base of this piece of garbage show that I will then relate to them. So I started chatting with a very attractive young lady about Outlander. And she and she unmatched me. I'm going to jump to the end and then go back for more context. She unmatched me because she was asking me what I thought about this season. And I gave my very same opinions on Roger. And she apparently was so put off by that she unmatched me.
Oh, Natalie!
But hey, you were honest, pal.
Look, what am I gonna like lie and be like, no, he's all right? No, he sucks. Get real pants when you go back in time, dum dum.
No.
Yes.
No, that shit is fucking historically accurate. It makes sense that he would. Here's the difference between Brianna's time travel outfit and Roger's time travel outfit. Brianna just went to fucking Goodwill and found some shit that might sort of look like it could go back in time, and that's how she's dressed. Like, she wanted to be comfy and also was going for Halloween as frontier woman, but also only started planning her costume an hour ago, right? Roger is a fucking historian. I guarantee he robbed a clothing archive or some shit, or you know what? It's like fucking the props designers in theater that go above and beyond, where every letter, all the words are written out, and they age it in tea, and then they burn the edges, and then they crumple it, and then they leave it in a pile of dirt for 4 days, and then they sit on it, and then they eat part of it, then they put it in tea again, and then they drink it, they poop it back out, they reform it into paper, they rewrite the letters, and then it's your prop.
I don't know what you're talking about. Theater's a dying art.
I will tell you this. A lot of people were pissed off about his little boy short pants.
Yeah.
And they talked about it, but you know what? Terry Druzbach was like, no. And she put up a picture, and it was historically accurate. The culottes were historically accurate, y'all.
Kevin,
for
you got this.
men.
You got this.
There are wide shots that he is standing in those tiny little flood pants, and in the background, no other man is wearing those pants.
Right.
So
why just him?
why him? If you're gonna do that, then at least half the dozen people also need to be wearing that shit. There are just shots where he's the only one.
Yeah.
The only one.
It seems like they decided Roger in particular wears the short pants.
Oh, that is shady, though. That's Neil saying that Roger's not a real man.
I'm just saying, all mouth, no trouser.
I find it very hard to believe that Neil has such retrograde
That was the worst high five I've ever
attitudes
seen.
about masculinity.
in here.
We saw a British show today that said all mouth, no trouser, and Neil and I were very happy about it. Just saying. And since we didn't see a dong, returning to the conversation earlier, I am going to say that maybe Roger is all mouth, all mouth, no trouser. Yeah,
I mean, that's sexy. And yet, best sex scene in the fucking season.
it's true. He is very hairy.
Anything else about Roger? Or can we talk about this goddamn cabin?
Oh, yes.
I think we're going to need to save the cabin for after break. But really, none of the idiot hut stuff did it for you? None of it?
Father Sting, fire, woman running into the fire.
I thought it was hilarious watching Roger try to dig that hole out the back. That was fucking funny as shit.
I didn't really care
It
about them trying to
reminded me
Shawshank out.
we used to have a German Shepherd and a Cocker Spaniel when I was a kid, and the Cocker Spaniel would try to dig out from under the gate. It was just this tiny little hole. They just kept digging that, It was never getting out from under that gate. That was short pants Roger.
That Cocker Spaniel hated you.
That Cocker Spaniel died when we were at Disney World, and
And that's going to be cutting to break. No, go ahead. In traditional Dudelander fashion, we underestimated how much these sons of bitches were going to talk and also how drunk we were going to be. So we are stopping this episode here with mid-dog death story to I don't know. Well, I mean, back in time, back then, because we're time traveling. Back in time. We were like peeing and getting more beer and stuff. In reality now, in the present, we're recording this list for then, so that then next week you'll hear the rest of the conversation, which we've already had, but you haven't heard yet. It's complicated. We want to thank everybody who listens to the show. You're all the best. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/PodlanderCast. You can find us on Twitter at PodlanderCast. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/PodlanderNutcast, where you can support the show, which we would not be able to do without the help of all of the following wonderful people, as well as other patrons donating at lower levels. The show is expensive and everything helps. Also, iTunes reviews. I'm doing this all out of order. It's fine. We want to thank Jen Lander Drunkland, Chantel Davis, Trish McCrary, Jenna Polkowski, Dr. J, Lori McGuire, Ann Gavin, Katie Kirshner, Amanda Newton, Beth Locke, Amy Gustafson, Rachel Townsend, Steph Peterson, Meredith M, Tara Lucchino, Meredith Ottery, Catherine Marshall Eastman, Chantel Salters, Mary Lumpkin, Tanner Cole, Kiki. The Wise. Neil just said the Wise from the bathroom. You're welcome. Crystal Nanavati, Ann Gibson, Molly Layton, Heather Moore, Ruth McCormick, Kara Marlowe, Flourish Root, Friday Payton, Viv Pickles, and Kathleen Moniz. Hi, Mom. We will be back next week with the second half of Dudelander. It's a doozy. There's more dog death. See you then. Bye. Bye.